Talking with the experts.
James Powell explains how intuition is the number one decision-making strategy of the world's highest achieving entrepreneurs in episode 325.
It's quite amazing how my coaching, because I also now as the spirituality coach as well, but the amazing development that I came across in my coaching was that I thought it was only going to be about helping entrepreneurs make their most successful decisions, right, using the number one strategy. But then, like I mentioned, I got that feedback from my clients that they've been experiencing inner peace. And I thought about it and I thought, okay, that makes sense because you're doing what I do and I feel peaceful. But then it goes even deeper, where I'm now identifying the patterns in the kind of clients that are being attracted to me. And it seems that they're having their parents, for one thing, they all have at least 2 children, and they also have experienced anxiety from conflict in the marriage.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can catch it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. Today, my guest is James Powell, and we're going to be discussing how intuition is the number one decision-making strategy of the world's highest achieving entrepreneurs. And James is the spirituality coach, and he helps highly analytical entrepreneurs let go to achieve peace within and make their most successful decisions using the number one strategy of the world's highest achievers and top performers. As host of the Spirituality podcast, James has interviewed some of the world's highest achieving entrepreneurs, including Sharon, Lechter, and Rich Dad Poor Dad, the founder of Puj Tub, Katie Dickinson, and Carla White, the first woman to create an iPhone app. How intriguing. James is a number one international best-selling author, together with the world-renowned human behaviour expert and featured celebrity in the hit movie The Secret, Dr. John Demartini, on the topic of strategic intuition. Welcome, James, and thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here, Rose, and I'm happy to blow your audience's mind with some cool insights.
Good stuff. Now tell me a little bit about your book first.
Yeah, so that book, I was invited to contribute a chapter. The book is called Intuitive Living. And so that's a collaborative book where each author contributes a chapter. And so I invited Dr. John Demartini to contribute a chapter. I invited him to the project, and he happily agreed. So yeah, we contributed, and I spoke about strategic intuition, which is mostly is very different from how pretty much everybody else is teaching intuition, in that everyone else teaches it based on pretty much fake feelings and general hunches, and it seems like guesswork, when you're navigating around constantly changing sets of circumstances. Whereas what I do with intuition is access specific and detailed actionable intelligence that you can use to make highly successful informed decisions. Because when you're making much higher level decisions, you need to remove emotion out of the equation and make an informed decision based on available evidence and data. Whereas most intuition coaches teach intuition as being associated or even equivalent to emotion. But emotion and intuition are not equivalent. And so to make those highly successful decisions, which is, as you mentioned already in the intro, the number one decision-making strategy of the world's highest achievers across the board, is surprising how many of them, say, like from Jeff Bezos, Oprah Winfrey, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Tim Cook, you name it. I've got like such a long list of the world's highest achievers, and all of them say on video. It's all online. They're just like these short little clips that are embedded in much longer speeches and presentations. So it's difficult for people to find them, but obviously I can find them because that's what I do with intuition, right? And I can really find the information that I'm looking for pretty quickly. So I've amassed this collection of quotes and video clips of the world's most successful people, financially and in other ways too, saying in their own words that intuition has always been their number one decision-making strategy beyond data and analysis, numbers, metrics, and everything. Elon Musk recently, when he made his offer to purchase Twitter for $43 billion, he was being interviewed by Chris Anderson on TEDx, asking him why he made that offer or why he made that decision, because he already interviewed Elon several months before, and Elon was given the same reasons in the previous interview as he was in this most recent interview, which was to democratize the platform, open source the algorithm. We're talking about the cons, like there's going to be haters and all this kind of stuff. But Chris was like, well, you already said, you gave these reasons before, like, so actually, what's actually the main reason why you now decided? And then Elon said it was his strong intuitive sense that pushed him to do it. $43 billion decision on intuition.
Yeah, well, lucky man, he's got that much money to spend. I quite honestly, I make a lot of my business decisions on intuition, my gut feeling. I don't do a lot of analysis on it really. I just have an epiphany and I think, yeah, I'll just go for that, and usually it works out, So I mean, epiphany is intuition. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but yeah. So I'm just about to start a radio station. An online one. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes, but yeah, I'm really excited about it, so I know it's going to work, because every time I talk about it I get goosebumps, so it's obviously a good thing. So I guess based on decision making using a gut feeling or an intuition or whatever it is, how reliable is that?
Well, first of all, we need to clarify the distinctions between what is gut feeling, what is instinct, what is intuition, because people use these terms interchangeably. Even intuition coaches, they all use it the same, it's the same thing, but it's not. And by understanding the difference of these different functions within what I call the flow of intuition, we're able to understand it more clearly. And the reason for that is that I like to eliminate belief as much as possible from everything I do, so that through understanding, I can implement more effectively, because it takes energy to believe. So if you can save the energy by understanding it instead, which doesn't really take any energy, it takes energy to get to the point of understanding. But once you understand it, it just sits in you and you know it. And then the surplus energy can be used for implementing and taking action and invest it into decisions, because there's such a thing as decision fatigue, where we have a limited number of highly effective decisions that we can make within a 24-hour period, after which our decisions become almost negligible. So if we're saving energy, removing energy from needing to believe and replacing it with understanding and using that energy in the decision-making process, then we can be more effective as well in those decisions. So the flow of intuition there's 3 steps to it. You have intuition, intellect, and instinct. So the intuition is in the heart. Like people say, follow your heart. Okay, that's where you get intuition. And even on a biological level, when you measure the electromagnetic fields that are generated from the cells, like the atoms produce them in the cells and organs and everything. Like we can measure the brain waves of the heart, of the brain, right? It has brain waves, so we can measure those. There's electromagnetism being emitted from the brain. The heart has it as well, but the heart emits electromagnetic field which are thousands of times stronger than the brain. It's actually the predominant organ in that respect. And in terms of the amount of electrical information sent from the heart to the brain sends more, the heart sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart, right, through the neurons. So, and there's neurons in the heart as well, like actual brain neurons. And that's why it's called a second brain in a way, but it really should be the first brain, because it's predominant more so than the brain in many regards. And in the flow of this information to, like the electrical information. And then the third part of the system is the gut, right, where it also has neurons, 40,000 neurons in the gut, right? And people say your mood is your food. because our emotions are associated with the gut feeling. And actually 40% of cases of depression can be cured by changing your diet, because it changes the gut biome, like the bacteria in your gut, which emit different gases depending on the food you eat. And those different gases affect the neurons in your gut, which affect your mood. So we can actually eliminate depression in a lot of people by changing the diet, because the neurons in the gut are not being exposed to those toxic gases anymore. There's more natural gases instead. And so the intuition comes in the heart first, and then that information is then sent to the brain, which is where we have intellect, and we reason about it. So naturally, we should ask excellent questions to be able to get excellent answers. So I always emphasize asking excellent questions. What most people do is they doubt and they second guess what they've intuited, what they received in the heart. Once the information goes to the brain, they think about it, or they think themselves out of it. But we should really be asking excellent questions to better understand it. But then that information goes from the intellect to the gut, right? Which is where the will is. It's that action center. And that's where we put it into action. That's the instinct. We get that instinct to do something. And a lot of people, when they talk about, I got this gut feeling or to do something, that's where it's in the gut. It's the third step, right? And they don't really understand what it is they want to do, but they have a feeling to go in a certain direction. But if they take a couple of steps back and they can analyze what they've intuited through their intellect as well, then they'll be able to understand it more clearly and be able to get also specific information and details, so that when they take action, it's all combined, together, and they know what they're doing. They have a clear step-by-step, next steps, and it's clear to them why they're taking action.
So how do we hook them all together?
So there's two ways. One is is to train them. Like I've done a lot of training, like since a very young age, and I left home at an early age, started reading and studying science and spirituality, all kinds of stuff since my preteens. Toured the UK. I was invited to tour the UK by spiritual professionals. I got tons of training and mentorship for free. So there's that, and I've got hacks to train people to achieve that, but in a very short time window, more effectively. Because obviously I've like tried everything pretty much, and I've realized 6 main strategies. I call them hacks because then it's not that they don't take effort, but they're like significant shortcuts. But there's one that I call my infinite joint venture, because I call it a joint venture with infinite intelligence. And even if my clients don't believe in infinite intelligence, I'm like, I don't ask them to believe. I'm like, well, you just do the steps and see what happens, right? Experience the results, and they do. So this one requires no training, no experience. You don't need to have any experience with intuition. You don't need to train or develop your intuition. You just follow the steps, and follow the system and the structure that I've set out, and you get the results. And the interesting thing with that is that I started teaching my clients and students this process based on just making decisions. But then I started getting the feedback from across the board, right, from multiple clients and students, that they've been experiencing peace. As a result, they've just been feeling like inner peace. And I thought, when one client told me that, I thought, yeah, that's nice. Another client told me, and I'm like, that's kind of funny. A third client, and then more clients were like telling me the same thing. And I thought, yeah, that's, I got to take a look at that, because that's actually how I feel. I've done literally tens of thousands of hours of meditation. Like, again, it started since I was very young. I used to meditate and fast up to 11 hours a day. And I fasted for 6 months on rice and water and nothing else. And I've done a lot of that. So I've conditioned myself, and I'm now basically meditative by default. That's my natural resting state. So it takes an exceptional set of circumstances to pull me out of it, whereas most people are trying to get into meditation. And so I just experience peace as my natural resting state. And so it's kind of natural then to that if my clients are doing what I do, then they will experience how I feel. And that, for me, that was just really unexpected positive feedback. Like I didn't intend that to be one of the effects, but it seems to be.
Yeah, that's
really
a
awesome.
good thing. I mean, feeling peace would be, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the podcast, the spirituality podcast.
Yeah, so I'm interviewing some of the world's highest achieving entrepreneurs. a co-founder or co-author of Rich Dad Poor Dad. There's Dr. John Demartini as well, who's two-time world #1 human behavior expert. I've interviewed a gentleman, Darren Jacklin, who helped grow a company to $1 billion in 5 years. He's working on a $100 million philanthropy project in Africa. Carla White, the first woman to create an iPhone app, which is really cool. So you think like, are they still alive? But actually not. It's like still, our generation, right? It's really awesome. And a lady who co-authored a book with Oprah Winfrey, and I've got like a serial Inc. 500 entrepreneur. Many of them, like his company's like in top 1 of companies in Florida and top 10 in America and stuff like that. And it's really amazing people, like generally nice human beings. They've been able to achieve success. Many of them went through some of the worst struggles you could ever imagine in your life. People putting them down, and they had no hope, homeless, suicidal, eating out of garbage bins out the back of shops, living in a treehouse, stuff like that. And it's just, but then they rose, because they overcame those struggles and they found a way. And, and then also through other people helping them and guiding them, giving them a nugget of insight or some love, and they felt valued. And the way that I started that podcast was after I finished a previous project. Then I used my intuition and I asked the question, what next? Right, simple question. But then I immediately got the answer within like a 2 or 3 second time window, which is how intuition works. The Spirituality Podcast, 1 episode per week, explore spirituality and self-development with high-achieving entrepreneurs. All right. So that literally that detail came in like within like a second or 2 seconds. And then I looked online. The spiritualitypodcast.com is available. I bought that.
That's how this podcast came about. This is how my radio station is coming on. This is how I do most of whatever I do. It's just, it must be intuitive, because I don't know, it just seems to fall out of the sky.
Yeah. It's truly amazing. And the intuition is like a GPS. Right. What a lot of people do, actually, a lot of intuition coaches, even, they teach people to use their conscience rather than intuition. Right. And a conscience is where you're in the midst of like a set of circumstances. You have your immediate situation, and your conscience is like a compass, which will point to magnetic north, and it will give you the best direction that it can based on its immediate circumstances. But if you put other influences within your current environment that can affect your compass, for example, magnetic rock, magnetite, could direct you in the wrong direction because the compass is sensitive to magnetism, not true north. So that's where information overload is a problem, because if we have too much information, too many options, even though they may all be viable, we can get confused, right? The compass will spin around in all directions and you get confused. So information overload, decision fatigue. Whereas if you use your intuition, which is compass, which is like a satellite in space, like a GPS, it can see your actual location. It can see where you want to get to. It can see beyond your immediate set of circumstances. It can tell you the best and quickest and fastest route to get there. And that's really what the intuition is, rather than the compass or conscience having a horizontal perspective as limited in what it can see. The intuition has a vertical perspective. It could tell you beyond what you can see. Like, I had no idea about the Spirituality Podcast. Didn't know the domain was available. I didn't know the guest niche, how the frequency of episodes and all this kind of stuff. I literally just got it. And then I invited people on my show. No audience, no listeners, no downloads, no reason for these guests to be on my show. But they've all said yes. I think I had one person said no, and that's because they felt that they're not ready yet to be on a show with such high caliber guests. And
amazing. Lucky
and
boy.
I literally just implement it, and that's it. It's no brainstorming. Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess we've pretty covered much everything there is, unless you want to explain something else. I've run out of questions because it's just you've just explained it really well.
Yeah, thank you. There's it's quite amazing how my coaching, because I also now as the spirituality coach as well, and my website is still in development at the moment. It's literally like just ready to launch. So it's thespiritualitycoach.com. It's literally just ready to launch. It's not live yet, but if listeners want to get in touch with me, they can do that through the spiritualitypodcast.com, through my newsletter, sign up on the page, and then also through social media as well. But the amazing development that I came across in my coaching was that I thought it was only going to be about helping entrepreneurs make their most successful decisions, right, using the number one strategy. But then, like I mentioned, I got that feedback from my clients that they've been experiencing inner peace. And I thought about it and I thought, okay, that makes sense because you're doing what I do and I feel peaceful. But then it goes even deeper, where I'm now identifying the patterns in the kind of clients that are being attracted to me. And it seems that they're having their parents, for one thing, they all have at least 2 children. And they also have experienced anxiety from conflict in the marriage, which is they're either in the process of separating from or moving on from in some way, or even just putting on a hold for a number of years in order to take a much longer term approach and but to move out of that anxiety. And it's very interesting how this recent development in my understanding of my service to others matches the exact people who have been connecting with me already for the past 2 or 3 years. Just previously, I didn't understand these were my ideal clients, but it's like they were already coming to me. And now I realize, yeah, they were my ideal clients. And it's very interesting how you may not feel ready, but there's something deeper going on behind the scenes. God, call it whatever you like. It's bringing people into your life that, like in my case, they came into my life, but I thought, I can't serve you because at that time anyway, I didn't want to deal with those problems. But now I'm realizing actually this is what people are coming to me for. And
yeah, it's a blessing, I think. They obviously, the universe has decided that you're the person that can help these people with their problems. So, I think, the universe had this planned out for you, and I think you've manifested it in some way.
Yeah, it's a beautiful experience.
Yes. yes, it sounds like it is, and I sort of envy you in a way, because people gravitating towards you for the thing that you do or the thing that you offer, and it's just sort of happened organically, and it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, organically, but I'd say it's I gotta be careful about what I say. It's not easy. Organic, but it's not easy. It's when you or when I should say, I also like to talk about I rather than you projecting on others, talk about myself. I like to think I've got things figured out, but then with this recent revelation about my service, I realized actually someone else had it better figured out than I did.
Yes, well, good on you, and yeah, congratulations. James, where can people find you other than at thespiritualitycoach.com? Where else can they find you?
Yeah, so there's my podcast, thespiritualitypodcast.com, and you can see a list of my guests, and there's a sign up form there. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn, so you can find me, James M Powell, and that's Powell, and you can search for that also with the Spirituality Podcast. And so yeah, I'm there on Facebook and LinkedIn, and that's pretty much it.
No, you don't need to be like everywhere. People say you do, but I don't believe that you have to be everywhere, because honestly, it takes up too much time to be everywhere. James, it's been an absolute pleasure learning from you. Can you would you like to leave some wisdom with our viewers and listeners today?
I did. I was thinking about this all day today because I read your email about this last question, and I came up with this. I didn't think about it. It just kind of happened. You will always feel like something is missing because your potential is infinite.
Well, you will think that something is always because your potential is. Yes, you will. I believe that. Yes, you always looking for something because, you haven't reached your potential yet. And I don't think anyone ever reaches their full potential. Do you think
I'm not going
that?
to comment. I'm not going to comment. I'm going to let you think about it and everyone else mull on it.
Well, I don't think they do, because there's always more to reach for. You cheeky boy. James, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for giving up your time today to be with me. I really enjoyed it immensely, and I've immensely loved learning from you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. This awesome conversation, and loved it. I loved every minute. It was really
Lovely.
Brilliant.
Good. I'll chat to you in a moment.
Cool. Thanks. Take care.
You too.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.